France is one of the most entomophagous, that's insect-eating, countries in Europe, as about 700 million snails are estimated to be consumed every year by the French, especially Normandy, the largest snail-producing region.
Oh, that's disgusting. That is disgusting. There's absolutely no way that snails can be that good. Geography now, France. Honestly, just wanted to learn some more stuff about France, so I was like, alright, might as well go watch this video.
Comme certains d'entre vous le savent, un huitième de moi est français. J'ai donc en quelque sorte une obligation d'honorer mon héritage.
It's time to learn geography.
No! Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie. France. Pretty much everybody on the planet has heard of this place. I mean, immediately images of wine, cafes, embellished 18th century Baroque architecture, and people who really hate globalization of the English language. But take a step back even further, and France...
I mean, France used to be like the lingua franca for a while. Until English replaced it. Oh well, boohoo, boohoo. Crimea River.
Place with jaguars, coconuts, volcanoes, penguins, grass skirts, war dances, bamboo flutes, witch doctors, and a multifaceted history that has evolved into a people group into becoming one of the most notable nations on the planet. Alors, allons-y. The first thing you need to know about France is that it's not just European, but a transcontinental country that spans across 12 time zones, more than any other country.
Yes.
Mais comment est-ce que possible?
Yes. I have technically... Well, no. I have seen France when I lived in Barbados, so...
Well, expliquer, gros garçon. France is kind of divided into two main parts. The European Metropolitan France, where about 95% of the population lives, and the overseas French regions, departments, and territories, otherwise known as the Département et Territoire d'Outre-mer, or DOM-TOM. Before we tell you what they are, let's explain the difference between them. Regions have exactly the same legal status as mainland France and the same civil, penal code, and administrative social tax laws. However, they can be slightly adapted to suit the region's particular needs. In collectivities, the autonomy rises and they are empowered to make their own laws except in certain areas like defense, currency, trade, and diplomacy. The overseas regions are Guadeloupe and Martinique in the Caribbean, French Guyana in South America, which by the way has the Kourou Space Center, disputably the best in the world because it adds an extra gravitational slingshot effect because it's so close to the equator of the Earth, and Reunion and Mayotte off the coast of East Africa. The overseas collectivities are French Polynesia, you've probably heard of Tahiti, that's French Polynesia, as well as Wallis and Futuna.
I've never heard of that place.
In the Pacific, St. Pierre and Miquelon right off the coast of Canada.
I always forget that France freaking is in North America. That's so wild to me. Oh my gosh.
Barthélemy and Saint Martin, which is the only place in France that has a border with the Netherlands, as the Dutch own the southern part of the island, located all in the Caribbean.
So let me tell you the story, right? That my Dutch teacher told me, right? She was born and raised in the Dutch Caribbean, right? And she told me, no, not even me, but she told the whole, well, no, she told me this because obviously we were like from the Caribbean. And we were just talking about like, just Caribbean stuff and whatnot. But this is related to Saint Martin, the whole Dutch France thing, right? And this probably is going to trigger some French people, but I don't really care. It is what it is. She said, on the Dutch side of Saint Martin, there was basically more, like, it felt more free. It felt more free. It felt like it actually had more autonomy. It really did feel more like just liberal, not liberal as in a political sense, but liberal as in, there's no sort of oppression, control, none of that, right? But she said you could literally look over the border, since the islands are small, you could look over the border to France from the Netherlands on Saint Martin, and it's very different. She said it's very different. She says there's security all over the place, police officers all over the place. She says it was less autonomous / free compared to the Dutch side of things, right? And she told me this story because we were talking about how France still basically has a neo-colonial empire that nobody really does to talk about, and how France is kind of hell-bent on keeping whatever pieces of territory it can, mostly due to just pride. And that's when she told me that story, and I was like, wow, that honestly does not surprise me that it's like that. Dude, it's literally like very small island, like Saint Martin. It's super small, smaller than Barbados, dude. And Barbados is already small enough as it gets, right? To give you an idea how small it is, Barbados is roughly the same size as Manhattan. It's as long, but it's not as wide. It's wider than Manhattan, but it's roughly as long as Saint Martin. Is way smaller than that and less wide. So it's like, dude, the fact that the vibe, the aura can just change so quick, right? It just changed right off the bat on a small island from just crossing a small border. More restrictions, she told me. On the French side, there were much more restrictions. I don't know if she said that there were like curfews and whatnot, but she basically just told me the Dutch side was just way more better, way more freer. I was like, oh, wow. Like, thank God that I am not a part of the French Caribbean, to be honest with you, but
The only islands that lie under the title of overseas territories are the French Southern and Antarctic Islands, or the TAAF. These islands are made up of the Kerguelen Islands, the St. Paul and Amsterdam Islands, you can probably guess who used to own those, the Crozet Islands, and Adélie, the claimed slice of Antarctica that is technically not recognized thanks to the Antarctic Treaty. And as of 2007, the scattered islands in the Indian Ocean, remember the Comoros episode, were added to make the 5th district of the territory, even though half of them are disputed with Comoros, Seychelles, and Mauritius. These islands are mostly uninhabited and only house temporary military or scientific personnel. Finally, France administers 2 special territories that don't quite fall into any of the previously mentioned categories. There's the uninhabited Clipperton Island off the coast of Mexico, which has a crazy murder story behind it. And last
Whoa,
but not
what?
least, there's New Caledonia, which has a special particular status out of the French-administered overseas territories. New Caledonia is the only one that's vying for a kind of somewhat independence, as the political power was passed to the native Kanak peoples. There is a weird dual French EU and New Caledonian citizenship thing going on, and in 2018 they will hold a referendum to either remain or leave France. And thanks to all these territories, they together...
This photo was made 6 years ago, probably almost 7 years ago, now that we're in 2025. I have heard of the whole New Caledonia thing, but I don't know how it ended. So probably not for independence, because again, France just... Yeah, it's France. You think France is just gonna let that go? Yeah, no.
France, the second largest executive economic zone in the world after the US. Whew. Okay, now let's go back to metropolitan Europe, France. The country is located in Western Europe, bordered by 8 other nation states. Don't forget little Andorra and Monaco, along the coast by the English Channel.
I forgot about them.
In the north and west, as well as the Mediterranean Sea to the south. Mainland France is sometimes referred to as the hexagon, since if you tilt your head a little bit, it kind of looks like it has 6 sides. Quite frankly, I was always under the impression that it kind of looked like a teapot with feet. Mainland France is also...
That looks more accurate.
...regions, including Corsica Island, 18 altogether if you include the overseas regions, with the capital, largest city, as well as the main cultural and commercial center, Paris. We could talk on and on about Paris, what with the unbelievably designed metropolitan layout, the rich, vibrant atmosphere, the juxtaposition of classically adorned historical sites along neo-contemporary architecture, the food, the shops, and of course, au soleil, sous la pluie,
Insane to me how these cities that look so nice today were absolute wrecks and disgusting to live in. Like, literally, like 200 years ago, right? 1825, these cities would be disgusting. I can only imagine the odor. It's like castles, right? People like romanticize castles, But someone pointed out how these castles smell like piss and all that nastiness, man.
But that in itself would take too long, and we gotta get through 3 more segments. The busiest airports are the 2 Paris twins, Charles de
Bro, wait. All this freaking music in the copyright. Oh my gosh, geography now. Don't copyright this video, please.
Nice, Côte d'Azur, and the 2nd and 3rd largest cities, Lyon, Saint-Exupéry, and Marseille, Provence.
That airport looks boring.
643,000 square kilometers. France
Bro,
is the largest.
all the other airports actually look nice, sleek, clean. That last airport looked so boring.
Country in the EU. The interesting thing about France is that it's kind of divided into areas that historically had their own distinct cultural identity. Some of the most notable ones being Occitania, Savoy, Brittany, Normandy, Alsace, a section of the Basque Country, Nice, and the island of Corsica, which speaks its own dialect most French people can't even understand. These regions.
Yeah, so let's talk about this for a second, right? So we got into a bit of a debate with French people on freaking hell, still have this cough from kind of being sick. Yeah, France. Yeah. So I said that French people are Germans, or used to be, I should say, before they assimilated. And I had some nerd emoji people say, actually, French people are not German. They're actually made up of the indigenous people, indigenous Gaelic people that used to live in Gaul. And bro, dude, okay. Oh my gosh. Yes, what now encompasses modern day France and the French nationality. Yes, it encompasses those people. Yes, but you cannot have France without the freaking Germanic Franks, which they were literally close to the border of Gaul anyway. So it's like, I wouldn't really be shocked if they were not like completely Germanic. They probably may have been more or less Germanic compared to obviously the other German tribes that were much more deeper in freaking Germania, right? Or Scandinavia, because that's where all Germanic people came from. All Germanic people came from Scandinavia before they spread out, right? Obviously. But like, dude, you, again, like what he said here, right? He said that these people have their own, like France has a lot of places that are made up of their own distinct identity, right? And that's the thing. They had their own distinct identity before the Franks came, right? Like there was no sense of France, French. Like you can't, I mean, for goodness sakes, man, that's why the country is called France. It's named after the freaking Germanic tribes, the Franks. Even in German, France is literally still called Frankreich, right? Like, come on, like obviously, this is like the modern day France is Gaul, right? Is in Gaul, so of course the people there that are encompassing this nation is going to be Gaelic, duh. But it doesn't really change who they are and who created the nation. This is why whenever I say French people are Germans, I'm not talking about the people that were already there. I'm talking about the people who came and created the kingdom of France. I know I'm going to get some people who are going to say, but actually, but assimilation, bro. Yes, I know what assimilation is. But I'm more looking at this from a kind of racially standpoint rather than culturally / ethnic standpoint, right? Because race does not equal ethnicity, right? Something that a lot of you ultra nationalist Western Europeans need to get across their heads, to be honest with you, because I find it hilarious whenever I see people in my comments who say, you're not English, you're not English because you're black, even though I'm mixed, right? Yeah, race does not equal ethnicity, really and truly. This is a common fact. Race does not equal ethnicity. Okay, like we're not gonna have that double standard. Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, France does have its own unique identity, even though the French identity. Well, nah. France is actually one of those places where everything's so mixed that you just get your own unique identity, that you can't really say, oh, there's just this one identity from France, because you have all these mixed people who just agree to be a part of one country. And this is the thing, right, is a lot of these European countries and whatnot, other places, they try so hard to suppress the idea of like diversifying, like, oh, you're a different ethnicity, you're a different people group. Like, bro, they try hard because they don't want, obviously they don't want to lose territory, right? So, and even now today, it's like French is still like the most Germanic language. You can't, if you learn how to speak French, you can't go up to an Italian person and speak to them, or a Spanish person and speak to them, because they won't know what the heck you are saying. Because French is the most Germanic language, bro. And that's not a coincidence either. Again, the original French people were obviously the Franks, okay, which were a Germanic tribe, okay, and they were Germanic, obviously, because they were German. I swear, the amount of nationalist people who like to cherry pick stuff in my comments, and they be having like the most like highest double standards known to mankind, bro. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous.
Regions contribute their own unique piece of the French pie. Speaking of pie, we all know about French food, which is great because we're going to discuss more about it in... If you look at France's physical makeup, you start to kind of understand why food plays such a huge role in their culture. Everything just kind of works out perfectly for them. For Metropolitan France, big, rich, nourishing rivers and their tributaries like the Garonne, Dordogne, Loire, Seine, Meuse, and Rhône entangle the entire country north to south, east to west, allowing an abundance of irrigated crop fields to exist in nearly every corner of the country. Now add on top of that the fact that the country does not have any major fault lines. They enjoy a nice oceanic European climate, and they don't suffer regularly from any major natural catastrophes. Most of the country is made up of arable flat plains or small rolling green hills that are just begging for cultivation, and voila, you have an agricultural gold mine. In fact, out of every country in the EU, France reportedly has the highest quality of soil performance and resilience, and only a few spots like in the Caucasus region and parts of Eastern Europe and Southern Russia rank higher. So there you go, food haven. In the the mountainous region.
Now this I did not know.
Of France, including the Pyrenees along the border with Spain, the Massif Central Plateaus, one of the most geologically studied places in Europe due to this strange formation, the Alps all along the borders with Italy and Switzerland. By the way, Switzerland was all like, yeah, I'm not gonna share Lake Leman, it's mine! And that's how Geneva was born. The highest point in France, let alone all of the EU, is Mont Blanc, found in the French Alps along the border with Italy, only second in height to the Caucasus Mountains in all of Europe.
So, there's this hot debate, right, on if Caucasia is European or not. Because I always do forget that the Caucasus are also a part of Europe. I don't know, man. Like, it's like above the Caucasian mountains is like, yeah, Europe. But like the bottom of the Caucasian mountain, that's where most of these countries are. Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Caucasus country, of course. It's like, that's where it gets more wonky. People just call them transcontinental countries. But I always felt like, I don't know, I feel like the Caucasus will be more Asia Minor than Europe. Because the mountains are basically like a border, right? You know, the Caucasian mountains. And below that, it's just basically Asia Minor. But people still consider these countries Europe. Which is like Georgia. I know Georgia is like, yeah, they're European. But like, I'm talking about the location, right? Location. That's oh man. I would probably say the Caucasus were more Asia Minor than Europe, to be honest. Yeah, there is. That's the thing. There is no defined borders of Europe, dude. There really isn't. I swear. Freaking Europeans and their whole I need to feel special superiority complex that they freaking gave themselves a whole freaking border just for their own continent. Although that whole like special superiority complex, that's only prevalent in like Western Europeans, not really Eastern Europeans. Eastern Europeans are some of the chillest people I've ever met, to be honest, and they don't already have that whole stupid superiority complex, so that Western Europeans tend to have, which is annoying as hell.
You consider the Caucasus region a part of Europe. Some people don't, but that's another story.
Yeah, it's literally just like what I was saying.
Dairy and meat. Every region has their own specialty, but two things are everywhere: cheese and wine. The French are the largest consumers of cheese with over 1,200 different varieties found all over the country. The French also have a larger range of unconventional consumed meat products. Most countries stick with beef, chicken, pork, maybe lamb or goat, and fish. However, the French aren't satisfied with just that. Other animals like pheasant, duck, goose, quail, rabbit, venison, veal, horse, frogs, and snails are consumed regularly. Speaking of which,
this all sounds disgusting, but gotta try French cheese because looks good. I can't lie.
the national animal is the Gallic rooster, which is why you might typically see a lot of roosters on French-affiliated symbols. In fact, France is one of the most entomophagous, that's insect-eating, countries in Europe, as about 700 million snails are estimated to be consumed every year by the French, especially the largest snail-producing region.
Oh, that's disgusting. That is disgusting. There's absolutely no way that snails can be that good. Guys, when I was doing like my whole France reaction, right? I had a whole bunch of French people tell me that they like ate snails. Bro, there is no freaking way snails are that good. No way. No freaking way. Of all the things, snails, really? Bro, how in the world do you even get to the point of eating snails? Like, who the hell thought of that? Like a long time ago, people were just like, I don't know, when we were hunter gatherers or whatever, people just saw snails and were like, huh, can we eat? Bro, snails don't even look edible. Who the hell thought of eating that? Oh man, that is nasty.
Unfortunately, due to the fact that the French are the highest consumers of raw or mildly cooked red meats, a huge portion of the population is either exposed or chronically infected by the Toxoplasma gondii parasite that disputably over half the population is suspected to have. This little guy eventually finds its way into your brain, changes people's behaviors into being either more caring or aggressive and suspicious. Look it up, I'm not even joking. The Alps.
Guys, we've decrypted the code. We have decrypted the code. Holy crap. Yo. That would explain that one ultra nationalist French dude in my comments and his freaking mood swing behavior. Hell no. This explains everything. This explains why French people have such just snobby personalities. Holy crap. This explains why French people have a reputation of being rude. Because every single person who's been to France said that they'll never go back to France because French people are just rude and snobby as hell. This explains it, guys. We found the cure. Well, not the cure, but we found the cause. We found it. Diagnosis, right? Oh my gosh. No, I'm actually mind blown. I'm not even joking. You think I'm joking? You think I'm joking? You actually know. Seriously. That makes so much sense. Every single thing that I've heard about French people, that makes so much sense now. This is the cause of it. That is the cause. Freaking hell. Now, if that's the cause of it, I can't really hate on French people because, well, that's kind of out of their control. You know, if something is literally causing your brain to change settings, you know what I mean? But holy crap, I cannot believe we actually found the causation of why French people are the way that they are. I'm shocked. All right, we need a cure. We need a cure. We need a cure so that French people can go back to being normal, so they're not rude, snobby people that are full of themselves. At least that's what I've heard from. Actually, no, I deal with this from other French people in my comments too. Yeah, if you're a normal French person, sorry, but one bad apple ruins the other. So yeah, we need to find a cure. We need French people to go back to normal. Okay? No, but seriously, why the heck has nobody not talked about this? Like, how are people just okay with that freaking with that happening? Like, what the heck? Like, what? Oh my gosh. I'm actually mind blown. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm actually mind blown by what I heard.
Are famous for their charcuterie and fondue, Brittany for its crepes, Cantal for its chestnuts, Dijon for its mustard, l'Aveyron for aligot, Rheims for its champagne, and then we get to Bordeaux. Now, first of all, every region of France likes to claim that they have the best wine. However, it's widely known that Bordeaux is disputably the home of the largest wine vineyards in the world, pumping out over 500 million liters of wine a year. The French take their produce maintenance very seriously and became the first
Wine. It's just like how my country, Barbados, is home to the oldest rum distillery factory in the world, Mount Gay Rum. Rum versus wine. I probably prefer wine. How do I know what wine tastes like? Don't ask me any questions, okay? How do I know what rum tastes like? Don't ask me any questions either.
First country in the world to ban supermarkets from throwing away or destroying unsold food since February of 2016. All businesses must donate wastage to either charities or food banks. To combat crop wastage on farms, France has even opened up ugly fruit or vegetable shops in which you can buy disfigured produce for 30% off. Other than
I've heard of this. I've actually heard of this a long time ago. A long time ago, I was like 13 when I heard of this. I heard about this in school, actually, in my old freaking middle school. They showed us a documentary on how people tend to discard ugly looking food, even though ugly looking food technically is actually better than good looking food, because ugly looking food tend to have much more of, the food that you want to eat from it, but because it looks ugly and weird, we think, oh no, bad, or oh no, something's wrong with it, and we discard it. And yeah, we've been wasting a lot of food because of that. It's mind blowing how much food we waste because of quote unquote ugly looking food. It's actually mind blowing. Like, I forgot how much we waste because of it, but yeah, like, we could be using a lot more of that food, to be honest. Honestly, good on France. I mean, rare French W. A rare French W. I'm actually surprised. Honestly. Which is why I decided to go watch this video, because I was like, maybe there's some stuff about France that I don't know about. Let's go watch this. Because I was supposed to be doing like Geography Now reactions anyways. I kind of want to react to the whole Geography Now series, but they get me a bit icky on copyright. But I was like, I am going to be... I'm going to take a risk. And plus, I'm pretty sure my French audience would like to see me do more reactions on France anyways. I mean, guys, like, if you have any reactions that you want me to do on France, just go comment down below, and eventually I'll do it. I'm not talking about the ultra nationalist French guy who wanted me to go do a freaking France only channel. Like, how to go turn on my ear filter. But yeah, no, I'm not doing that. But I will still do reactions on France, but not a France only channel, because that would be taxing, because freaking bro, I'm passionate about other cultures. Not just France. Passionate about other cultures, religion. Not just France, bro. Like, come on now. Come on now.
Than foodstuffs, though, main exports are aircraft, chemicals, machinery,
Aircraft.
steel, electronics, motor vehicles, and pharmaceuticals. Of course, the overseas territories.
Aircraft. Now that's the first I've ever heard of that. Aircraft.
And regions also have climates and topographies that are completely different. The Caribbean islands and Guyana enjoy a warm Caribbean tropical climate.
Of course.
Being part of the Amazon, having one of the highest forest cover densities in the world at over 95%, with over 1,100 species of birds and reptiles and mammals found in it. Reunion and Mayotte.
So yeah, French Caribbean. Honestly, the French Caribbean, even though it's France, to be honest, it's exactly like Barbados and the other Caribbean islands. It's just that, well, it's French. But the layout and how it looks, to be honest, it looks like every single other Caribbean island. It just looks French, obviously. Like with Barbados, you know, you go to Barbados, obviously, it looks like a British place, obviously, because we're a British country. But yeah, you just go a couple hundred miles. I don't know, like you had to go a couple hundred miles south, like 200 miles northwest of Barbados, and you'll land in France, in Martinique. So yeah, that's interesting. And it's again, it kind of just basically, like you said, the environment, everything's the same. But yeah, it just looks more French, obviously. But interestingly enough, and I said this before, I am a bit French myself, because St. Lucia, and I explained this in my other France reactions, I'm just going to summarize it, but St. Lucia was originally a French colony. My family on my mother's side lives on St. Lucia, and the British just took it over. So, although St. Lucia is still considered a French-speaking country today, which is true, I do know, despite the fact that it's weird, because St. Lucia is considered a French-speaking country, but it's a part of the English Caribbean and the Anglophone Caribbean, but it's also considered a part of the French Caribbean because it's French speaking. So it's weird. St. Lucia's weird. It's like split. But yes, they are French speaking. I do know that they are part of the French speaking world, officially speaking. Yes, my family on my mother's side can speak French Creole. It's basically like they can communicate with like Haitians and other French people and whatnot. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, interestingly enough, my mother said that you can see France from St. Lucia. Well, Martinique. She said that she always, when she lived there, you could literally just look, like Martinique is so close that you can literally just see the buildings, all that. Like it's super duper close, right? And even now today, she told me that people from St. Lucia usually go to Martinique. They're allowed in Martinique, which is France, of course, without really any like restrictions or anything, because again, you know, they're literally a part of their Caribbean, right? Not only are they Caribbean, but they're French Caribbean, right? French speaking people, and their cultures, due to the fact that St. Lucia used to be a French colony, are still kind of close to each other, right? And the fact that Martinique is extremely close to St. Lucia, like really close. I'm talking like 10 miles, right? You can literally, yeah, that close, right? Yeah, she says that, yeah, people from St. Lucia, they usually just take like a boat, like a little ferry, like if they need to like go to the hospital or something, and you know, like if they got like a very advanced injury or something really bad happened to them, they'll usually like take them to a boat, take them to Martinique and let them get treatment there, because due to the fact that Martinique is France, obviously they'll have much more better medical technology and all that medical equipment and all that. But yeah, they always go back and forth from Martinique to St. Lucia and all that fun stuff. It's just weird. Because in every way, St. Lucia is literally like could really and truly fit into the French Caribbean, like be a part of France today, but it's not. It's independent British Commonwealth country with freaking King Charles as the king of St. Lucia, because it kept being taken over by the British. Freaking swap hands 13 times between the British and the French. So yeah, that's how I have a bit of French heritage. Even my last name, Raphael, yeah, I took that from my mom's side. Again, because you know, French heritage. So yeah. All right, let's continue.
Off the coast of Africa have deep jungle ravines and a common volcanic activity going on. The scattered islands are mostly uninhabited sandbanks and lagoons with nothing more than just a few trees and shrubs. The southern Antarctic islands are rocky and desolate with few grasses and vegetation. Kerguelen has these cabbage-looking things going on, and these islands typically freeze over in the winter with penguins stampeding off the coasts. New Caledonia and French Polynesia are tropical Pacific islands that enjoy an abundance of rich, unspoiled, thick jungle, brush, and colorful flowers. And of course, Adelie Land is like all ice and Antarctica. All right, we've discussed borders, boundaries, mountains, food, volcanoes. Now let's talk about who's running the entire show.
Ready to tackle your debt?
France is a country of people that are very, very intent on making sure that you know they are French. First of all, the country has about 67
You don't have to say that.
Second largest in Europe after Germany, making 13% of the EU alone. About 85%.
I remember when France used to be terrified of how Germany had a higher population than it. Yeah, me too. Crazy how times change.
of the population is white, 10% are North African, mostly from the Maghreb regions, a little over 3% are black, and a little less than 2% are Asian. The currency is the euro, they use the type CEF outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road, which makes things interesting when their neighbors from the UK come across the channel. Now let's talk about the white people. Most white French people have some or partial Celtic or Gaulish origins, as historically the Gauls inhabited most of the centralized regions of modern-day France. That means genetically, the French and British have a lot more in common than they think. Of course, an admixture of Latin and Germanic roots also applies, as all three people groups had their stake of claim in France as well. The name France even came from the Germanic Frank tribe. French is of course the official language, however, regional dialects do exist, but
yes, French and British people have a lot. But the thing is, and this is the catch, really, right? With French people, I would accept them calling themselves Gaelic. I would accept that. And here's why. I wouldn't accept that with British people unless they're actually from actually from Wales, Scotland, Cornwall. And when I say Scotland, I mean the Highlands, not Lowlands, because the Lowlands also have Germanic origin, right? English people, right, tend to have more Germanic DNA. Like always, they tend to have more Germanic DNA. When I mean English, I mean like English, bro. Not Scottish, not Irish, not Welsh, not Cornish, not the other Celtic people who were basically freaking anglicized. Bro, I mentioned in my video how I'm anglicized. The term anglicization, I hate saying that word. Anglicization. Anyways, the term to anglicize someone, right, make them right, become English when they're foreign was coined when the English anglicized the Celts, right? When the English basically made the Celts kind of more or less abandon their language or put their freaking languages on life support and their cultures. I kind of just replaced that with English, bro. Like, seriously, that's where the term anglicization first came. Didn't happen with Ireland because the English control of Ireland wasn't as strong as obviously over Wales, Scotland, and all that. It didn't happen to Scotland too much. But it did happen to like places like Cornwall, which the Cornish language, Cornish people are related to the people in Brittany. Hilariously enough, it was actually people who fled from Cornwall to Brittany to escape the incoming Germanic Anglo-Saxons that would become, English. And for good reason, because look at what happened to Cornwall. The place is basically anglicized to the max. I mean, the Cornish language is basically, I think it's classified as extinct or seriously endangered because they're not teaching it anymore. There's hardly anybody speaking it. All the people who are speaking it are old as hell, about to die, right? And everyone just speaks English, right? So English people, like, they always, if you want to know if someone is actually English, even if they say that they're mixed, if they have a majority Germanic DNA in them, then yeah, no, their ancestors are probably not indigenous to Britannia. Yes, when they came, they probably intermingled with someone that's indigenous. Yes. And they're still mixed, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like, this is how you differentiate. And this is what I would consider French people as more, I would accept French people as more Gaelic. It's because when you actually look at a French person's DNA, majority of their DNA would actually match with the region, right? With Gaelic people, right? Right? You wouldn't really get, like, a majority Germanic DNA, even though the founders of France were Germanic and came from Germania. No, you would not get that. The founders of England were Germanic and came from Germania, and they completely brought over everything from their old Germanic customs, culture, language, all that. They brought it over and basically replaced the Celtic languages that were around on Britannia and replace English with the lingua franca. I mean, guys, seriously, like, they didn't really adopt anything from the Celtic people. None of that, right? The French, on the other hand, no, they were the opposite. They actually adopted, they actually did assimilate with the whole Gaelic Celtic peoples. And that's why if I hear a French person look at me and say, oh, well, I'm not really Germanic, I'm actually, like, Gaelic, or I'm actually Celtic or something like that, I would be like, okay, yeah, I believe you. But no, with English people, no, I honestly can't really, like, accept that with English people because dude, just look at the whole history of Britannia. And as soon as the Anglo-Saxons came, like, the Celtic people were literally pushed out. And the whole Anglicization, Anglicism, or, like, they were basically just anglicized. They were, like, their whole culture, customs, traditions were mostly just replaced, right, by the Anglo-Saxons and their culture, customs, and traditions, quite frankly speaking. So I could argue this all day. Like, seriously. The only reasons why places like Wales, Scotland, Ireland have their Celtic languages still around is Really? Because geography, and the fact that Anglo-Saxons didn't really care to expand into them originally. That's how their culture, languages, and customs were saved. But unfortunately, for places like Cornwall, yeah, they were not lucky. They were not lucky at all. Like Cornish language is almost gone now. At least some of them fled from Cornwall. I fled to what's now Brittany. So I guess you could say the Cornish language still somewhat survives, or at least a cousin or somewhat the family of it still survives in France today, right? Like the French people didn't do that. When the Franks came, they didn't go and freaking replace, these languages, customs, and traditions with just one tradition, right? One French no, France went and mixed all of it into, the unique France identity that we know and love today. Like, no, this is why I hate when I hear English people like to say, I'm mixed. I'm like, okay, cool. You might have a bit of Celtic DNA, but the majority of your DNA is Germanic, buddy. I'm telling you, originally, your ancestors were probably Germanic invaders that came to Britannia, and honestly, just completely. I mean, it's just sad, really and truly, when you know what happened to the Celtic tribes that were thriving in Britannia until the Anglo-Saxons came and just stopped that, right? But anyways, let me stop rambling on. I could talk about this all day, but I talk about it sometimes because I think it's like an insult to the actual Celts who are still around in Britannia today, whose ancestors were basically replaced by non-indigenous people who want to go and basically take their identity, because that's basically what it is. I mean, these Anglo-Saxons basically came and now they want to go and take the Celtic identity and be like, oh, I'm not German, I'm not, like, bro, like, hush, bro, please.
For the most part, they do pretty well at making sure everyone speaks it. Granted, the linguistic zones that we mentioned before each have their own flag, still cling on to their mother tongue, and sometimes you can even find street signs written in these languages. For example, Breton, a Celtic-based language related to Welsh and Irish found in Brittany, Basque in the Basque Country, Occitan in Occitania. Corsicans have like this strange half French, half Italian hybrid thing going on. Keep in mind though, most of the languages spoken in the linguistic zones are kind of dying out, and only the older generation really retains daily conversation in those languages. Outside of Metropolitan France, the overseas departments and territories each speak French, but in addition typically have their own creoles or dialects. For example, in the Caribbean, Martinique and Guadeloupe might say "Ça a marché, tout bon man, timalement." In Reunion or Mayotte, they might say "Quoi fait, comment il est, à où." France is the most visited country in the world.
French Creole, yep. I remember when my cousin came to Barbados when I used to live there. I was like 7 years old, and she always used to make fun of me because I didn't know how to speak French Creole. My mother spoke it. She knew how to speak it. She didn't teach us how to speak French Creole. Again, she always look at me and be like, how are you French, but you don't know how to speak French Creole? And she would always speak French Creole to me. I would not understand a single thing. And she would always do that to bully me all of the time. And she would do that to my brothers too, because we don't know how to speak French Creole. She would always look at us and be like, how the heck are you French and you don't know how to speak French Creole? Like, but yeah.
world, as more people than the entire population of France visit France annually at about 80 million. Culture-wise, there is too much to discuss. I mean, we are talking millennia of tribes, wars, empires, heroes, villains, artists, poets, architects, kings, queens, guillotines, revolutions, inventions, music, dance, clothing, fashion, cinema, cuisine, discoveries, victories, losses, folklore, science, literature, medicine, and baguettes. To cover it all, we would need a whole separate YouTube channel. But for what it's worth, since the Middle Ages, France has been able to show time after time again that it has been a global force to be reckoned with. I mean, the French at one point in time had the second largest empire in the world, spanning across virtually every region on every continent. One thing you have to understand is that in a fast-growing Anglophone-driven global economy, France is very, very firmly intent on preserving the French language and culture. The governmentally sanctioned Académie Française has aimed at doing this since 1634. They do things like, somewhat unsuccessfully, banning foreign words such as blog, hashtag, parking, email, and weekend. In addition, the French media's top regulator.
Bro, France, you are being a bit too extra. What? Bro, what? Now this is a what?
The CSA and CNC have strictly enforced policies that require all music on private radio to be at least of 40% French origin and 70% in the French language between the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and half of the music quota must be less than 6 months old. Everything must be French. France is of course home to a plethora of notable figures in every field of academia.
I don't blame you, France, to be honest. This is like the rare moment where I actually have to agree with France on something. You don't want to end up like what happened to those poor Celtic peoples when the English first arrived in Britannia and were completely anglicized and had their culture, customs, and traditions just completely erased and replaced with English culture, customs, and traditions. So yeah. And you want to know what's hilarious is this is happening, but yeah, Britain is becoming more Americanized, right? Like, Britain seems more American now than ever. And I hate it. I hate it. I should do a geography now, Britain. And discuss more on that there.
And athleticism. I mean, they have almost 70 Nobel Peace Prize winners, including famous chemists Pierre and Marie Curie. Few people know that they had a daughter who also became a notable scientist. Other scientists, writers, and philosophers like Descartes, Pascal,
I did not know that.
Flaubert, Pasteur, Châtelet, Bouton, who by the way invented the metric system. Musicians like Rameau, Lully, Debussy, Jacques Brel, Edith Piaf. Of course, we can't forget the fashion icons Louis Vuitton, Coco Chanel, and Christian Dior. I mean, it's no secret, France is often touted as the fashion capital of the world. Artists like Monet, Cézanne, Renoir, Degas, Manet, and Gauguin. And of course, what's an episode about France without mentioning anything about Kings Louis XIV and XVI, Joan of Arc, and Napoleon? In a simple way of putting it, French culture is very vibrant and proud. The French love where they've come from and how they go about doing things. The Catholic Church once played a major role, and to this day, even as a secular state with dwindling church attendees, many French people still, in the very least, identify nominally as Catholic, mostly for a cultural thing. It's just their history and they don't want to toss it away. They also love taking breaks and getting their sleep. On average, the French get about 8.83 hours of sleep every day, more than any other country in the developed world. And they also have some of the
Yo! You know what? Maybe I should go to France, bro, because I need some sleep.
shortest work weeks with only about 6 to 7 hours on average a day. And that's enough for them. It's not uncommon to see people take
Bro, what? It's only 6 to 7. What, bro? You know what? I might have to go to France. I might have to go to France. Nah, hell nah. I can never go live in France, to be honest.
taking time off in the middle of the day, early evening, just to relax and take a nap. They even have a word for it, l'heure de l'apéro, which literally translates to the hour of the aperitif. People can also claim state pension at age 62, making it one of the lowest retirement ages in the world. And of course, the sport French people...
This is maybe like 8 years ago. Didn't the retirement get raised to like 67?
rank highest in the world, going on strike. I mean, the last thing you want to do is interrupt a Frenchman's nap during a 6-hour shift with corporate policy changes. Yep, the world can be a cruel, cruel place. Let's see how France survives in the jungle. When it comes to France, they don't discriminate. they hate everyone equally. No, but seriously, France has their eyes on a few people, and when they see what they like, they cling on and make you a treasure. First of all, Francophone nations and Latin-based former Roman legacy nations generally get the high seats, especially their neighbors like Switzerland, Luxembourg, Italy, and Spain. Quebec, Canada is to France kind of like what the USA is to the UK. They adore each other, they love each other's accents, but they love making fun of each other even more, even though they are really close. Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia are the closest African nations as they make up the largest African immigrant demographics, followed by sub-Saharan African countries like Cameroon and Cote d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast. For France, Japan is seen as like the epitome of exoticism. Similar to themselves, the Japanese have a rich culture of noble tradition, things like castles, attire, and food. Likewise, Japan sort of shares the same mutual fascination and see France as like its European alternate universe twin. There's no two.
I have a negative opinion on Japan, to be honest. I think Japanese culture can be a bit weird and kind of disgusting, in my personal opinion. There's some cool aspects to it, but I just think it's overrated. Yeah, I just think that, I don't know, Japanese culture just it's repulsive somewhat. Not in the way that you think. There's some cool aspects to it, but some of their culture, traditions, it's kind of repulsive.
Two countries that like to poke fun of and borderline harass each other with the French as the UK and the USA. As historical rivals with the UK, I mean, they did have a 100-year war with them, and the USA busting their chops about World War II all the time. All sides like to satirize each other in cartoons and media all the time. Nonetheless, they are actually really close. The UK and France have
France is smart in World War II. Instead of letting your country turn into freaking ruin, France just simply left the war to avoid that. Might seem humiliating, but objectively speaking, it was the right thing to do. Like, seriously. Because look at what happened in Germany now, right? Germany, a lot of places in Germany are just rebuilt. They're not the old-fashioned places. No, that all got destroyed. So at least France can say, well, at least I have this historical place that's, not destroyed. It's original building, right? For the most part, even though I know that the dictator of Germany did give orders to completely demolish Paris and destroy it, but the German commander of Paris was like, the city's too beautiful to destroy. But they weren't like that with Poland. They completely demolished the Polish capital. Now Poland just has a carbon footprint copy of everything in its capital today.
Have been crossing borders and intermarrying for centuries. Commerce and student exchanges are high, and the US was helped by the French during the Revolutionary War, and they even gave the Statue of Liberty as a present. So fellow Americans, thank France for Lady Liberty, okay? It was a kind gesture. France's best friends, though, would probably be Germany and Belgium. It's kind of funny because historically, the only country that was consistently an opponent of France was Germany. Ever since the split of Charlemagne's empire in 3, most of Europe's history was driven by the overarching rivalry between variations of France and all variations of Germany, including the Holy Roman Empire, the Teutonic Order, Prussia, and of course, the Third Reich. But the plot twist was the creation of the EU. Following Robert...
My boy just completely forgets about the First World War. Bruh.
Schumann's speech that states explicitly that for Europe to even hope to work, the millennia-old rivalry between France and Germany has to be resolved for good. Ever since 1980,
That's true.
France and Germany have taken a lot of political inspiration off of each other. Heads of states have visited each other on numerous occasions, and both countries have been the biggest advocates for the survival of the Union. And Belgium is like their little brother that moved out and got a Dutch-speaking roommate and visits France every so often to raid their fridge and do their laundry. In conclusion, les Français sont connus pour être intrépides, turbulents, mais qui gardent quand même un certain charme. Ils ont parfois l'air désinvolts, mais bon, essayez de vivre dans un pays envahi 24 heures sur 24, 7 jours sur 7, par des hordes de terroristes qui piétinent vos jardins, massacrent votre gastronomie, et vous demandez de vous plaire au moindre de leurs désirs, sans même vous dire un petit merci. Oh, France, faut le comprendre. Stay tuned. France's rich former little colony, Gabon, is coming up next.
If you have any suggestions that you want me to react to, go comment down below. If you have any suggestions of France that you want me to go react to, go comment down below, of course. Go make sure you like and subscribe for more reactions like this, of course. If you like what I have to say in my videos, definitely subscribe for more reactions like this, man. Go check out my other France reactions on my channel, man. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.